Let's go!
SF5, which isn't even a game that I've played a lot of, right? Admittedly. I kind of stopped playing this game back in 2016 because I couldn't stand it anymore. Playing this game online just became more eternally frustrating than it was worth for me personally. That's when I got to Platinum. That's when I went through the slog to get to like the highest rank that was commonly available in the game. And I've only come back every once in a while. And I gotta say, I'm gonna say it right now, because everyone's gonna start asking it, everyone's gonna start freaking out. I think this game is in the best state that the game has ever been. And I've said that before, and it's when G came out. I thought Season 3 with G was super cool. I think gameplay-wise, some of the characters, especially Gil and especially with Seth, have been awesome. Like, these characters are cool. They get a lot of options. They get a lot of neat stuff that they can do. This is actually crazy interesting. A lot of the situation in between that, you know, between Season 1, launch Street Fighter V in comparison to the betas, Season 2, I just had not much of an interest in the game. Characters would come out, I'd try them, and that was about it, and I'd be like, I know what, I'm done. I think this game is more enjoyable to watch, I think it's more enjoyable to play, and I truly think that they got some cool characters in this game now. Like, comparatively to, my god, just thinking of, like, Gil and Seth in comparison to any of the launch characters in this game. Any of them. Any of, like, the 16, I think it was, characters that made it in at the beginning. They're just so much sicker. And that is kind of natural with fighting games. These characters sort of feel like the way I always wanted Street Fighter V to be. That was sort of a similar fashion to Street Fighter 4 and the characters that came down the line. Especially the Oni and Evil Ryu, like, I love those characters, man. That stuff was so cool. So I genuinely, I gotta give Capcom credit where credit is due. This game has some really sick characters, dude. And it's getting better and better gameplay-wise. Unfortunately, prediction came true. My developer brain, knowing Capcom Japan and the way that their fighting game division has been, we have to fix this, and we have to find a way to prevent people from making this modification further. And I hate being a prophet, because anytime I like to prophesize what the hell Capcom's up to next, it ends up coming true, and it's not usually the best situation for it to happen. But yeah, this is the patch. This is the one. Enjoy. It apparently disables all of the previous fan fixes that came out. There's now like a certain file check that happens on the game. I'm not too sure if this is the same as what it was before, but there's a file check that pretty much confirms whether or not you're running the Netcode patch, the fan-made patch that, you know, had people actually super excited. I play a lot of different fighting games, and I can already tell you right off the bat, when I play Street Fighter V online, so many of my matches boil down to the core fundamental part of the gameplay just not being interesting or fun anymore because of the stutteriness that I just don't want to play. But the people that did experience the ulterior, whatever the guy's name was, like the modder patch, Altamore, thank you, that's his name. They're like, yo, oh my god, the game is so much better. Like, wow, this thing actually works. And that was the point where Capcom was like, we have fully grasped the situation, is what Ono literally said like about a month and a half ago. Fully grasped the situation, and we all took that as meaning several different things. Ultimately, I said there was going to be 3 things that would happen. There was going to be, they're going to do nothing about it. Number 2, they are going to update the netcode and pretty much match what Altamore did. The third and final one, which is what I presumed what was going to happen, I thought that they were going to remove the ability to use the Altamore patch, and the game was just going to pretty much go back to being the way it was. Now here's the thing, here's the problem. The Altamore patch messed up crossplay. It actually screwed things up between cross-platform compatibility of playing the game online. If you actually had the Altamore patch with other PC players, it was godlike. The game actually ran significantly better. If you didn't, though, it was a problem, and especially for the PlayStation 4 users, it was a big problem. And even back when I heard about this, I was like, shit. If you see this as what your player base is doing with your game, and you have the Olympics coming up, and you have all these big important things happening, big problem, right? There's a huge problem. I could put myself into Capcom's shoes and be like, hey, Capcom, or our fans are somehow finding a way to change our online experience. We need to get rid of that. They have to have them on even ground. I can actually sort of see where they're coming from, but I thought that there would be like this middle ground where we're like, but you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take that thing that this guy made and we're gonna make it work. So, long story short, here we are. February 18th. The patch comes out, and the Ultimore patch doesn't work anymore. Does it not work anymore because they specifically patched it out? Or does it not work anymore because the values of data have changed, which happens all the time with patches, right? I've had to update my patches to be compatible for new updates and things like that because Capcom always does that. It's one or the other. Long story short, it doesn't work anymore. And I spent a solid, this is why I'm late today, I spent a solid 2 hours. I'm like, I'm gonna go watch people that have been suffering through this game's netcode for a hell of a long time. I'm gonna watch all the other people that have been going through the highs and the lows of Street Fighter V and have been playing this stuff for 4 years. And here's the problem. Even my experience sometimes with Street Fighter V is really good. Like, even sometimes I'm like, yeah, this game runs great online. It's really good. I'll come back another day and it's just fucking awful. Like, it's just insanely bad. Like, 6 out of 10 games are terrible. And there's tons of reports coming out from people that have played way more Street Fighter V than I have. And I have a lot of experience with online fighting games, right? I have a lot of experience with rollback netcode, games that run it well, games that run it bad, games that run the classic netcode well and bad. There's a lot of people out there defending Grand Blue's netcode, and I'm telling you right now, it's not good. It's indeed just as bad as all the other Arc System Works games. The frame delay counter is actually fucking lying in that game. It's not true. And a lot of people are reporting different things. Some people are like, hey, it's better. Wow, I'm actually able to match up with people that it's better than it was before. Other people are like, it's the same shit. And other people are like, it's fucking worse. And to me, as an outsider, watching everyone's experience with this game in combination with my experience, it sort of seems like it's back to the way it was. But you know what? In Capcom's mind, here's what they did. They did fix the netcode. They absolutely did. You know what they did? They made it so that your player base isn't segregated between the console version and the PC version. Now, the console and the PC players can actually play together once again with the intended online experience that they designed it for. So they technically fixed it, right? This is fixed netcode. This does make big adjustments to the way the game actually was. So I see where Capcom's coming from. They pretty much patched the game so that you're not going to be suffering as much one-sided input delay as the other. It's going to take a long time for people to figure out if any of like a netcode adjustment has been made, is available now for all players. It's going to take a long time to figure this out. It's going to take days and weeks for people to figure out what the fuck happened. A Capcom patch has come out for fighting games, and we're relying on the fan base to figure shit out. This is from 51 seconds ago. I don't know if this is the code of the game. I don't know. I can't even tell you. I don't even know. I'm gonna wait till someone that understands a bit more about the Ultimore patch, that understands a bit more about how that stuff works, you can translate that for me. I'm seeing stuff that makes sense netcode-wise in terms of what you need to look ahead from and what you need to roll back to, but it doesn't make any sense what that means in relation to the Ultimore patch, in relation to the previous patch. Like, what is that? All of what I'm about to say still stands. I think whatever small adjustments they've made, there wasn't enough time to actually go through enough testing, enough simulations, appropriate cost in the past month for them to fully grasp the situation. There just isn't enough time, right? If they were gonna make significant changes to the net play of this game, there would have had to have been another beta. And that's what I thought they were going to do. I was like, you know what? There's probably going to be, if they saw oh crap, we messed this up and we can actually change it, they would probably need to do another beta, especially considering the fact that the people that are cross-console have to play with each other. And there's always been an issue with cross-console in this game, right? So from what I was watching in those 2 hours, the impressions were all over the goddamn place. And when something is changed, there's a pretty clear adjustment to the way your fan base feels. When the Ultimore patch came out, I didn't even play it, but every fucking person that installed that thing and fought someone else that was installed with it, they said it was amazing. There was a very, very clear, wow, this actually changes everything. It's amazing. It's actually changing everything. So that was a very clear thing. Right now, it's not as painfully obvious, you know? It just isn't. The only thing that was obvious was that if you played other people with the patch, it was really good. But if you played people that didn't have the patch, it was not. Especially console users. It was not. And here's the funny thing. I'm also going to throw this out there too. I can sympathize with Street Fighter V fans. I really can. I can sympathize with people that have been putting up with this game, if not dealing with a lot of the issues that's been presented, but dig the gameplay. They just enjoy the way it plays. They love the way the characters are. They've had decent experiences online, enough for them to still enjoy the game. And there's a proper defense force. I get it. I've been defense forcing a shit ton of stuff my whole life, and I understand completely. But at the same time, you can't ignore that the lack of communication is insanely astounding. Why wouldn't they just tell us what it is? Why wouldn't there be like details about what they're doing? We adjusted the simulation for a wider range of availability to not desync. Like something. Like just give us some layman's terms, give us a technical term and a layman's term for what they're doing. Like give us a basic comprehension of what's going on, and this has been the history of Street Fighter V for as long as it's been out. The other big thing is that the game still is matching people with whoever the fuck. Some guy went to this this player's like profile and found out that he's playing from Argentina. He's playing a dude that's like 5,000 miles away! In most other fighting games that have good rollback netcode, 5,000 miles is shockingly playable. I can tell you, I've played from much further away in games like Killer Instinct. However, isn't that the fucking problem? Isn't that this is literally the problem. Why is the game syncing you up with people that are 5,000 fucking miles away? When it's obvious, like a big update just came out, there's gonna be people online. How is there still no specific region matchmaking? How is there still no, like, choice for you? This dude's probably looking for someone that's at 5 bars, and just like me, when I'm looking for people at 5 bars, the game's all over the fucking place. And it's like it means nothing. That's the frustrating thing, is that there should be systems and tools in place for you to prevent yourself from playing against these players that don't have good connections. And the smallest thing they do is like a blacklist, and the blacklist space apparently runs out. So that's the problem, is that the game still, even after the netcode patch, hasn't fixed what's really important, is matchmaking. I can't get paired up with people that actually have good connections. It just doesn't work. Wouldn't it be nice when there's a netcode patch for your game? It's not going to be for all the brand new bronze player Street Fighter players, right? It's not for those people. This patch is for the people that have been playing this shit for 4 years, have a pretty decent understanding as they're in platinum and diamond and whatever the fuck, like way beyond that. This stuff is specifically for the people that have an understanding that Street Fighter V's netcode is messed up, and we're taking a look at it. So why wouldn't you just describe it in full about what the hell you're doing? About what the effect is of what you're doing? Are there any changes to the matchmaking to make that better? To me, I think the best case scenario of all this stuff happening was that Capcom would be like, hey, there was a fan-based mod that came out. Unfortunately, this mod caused a lot of compatibility issues between our console users and our PC users. And we have to have everyone having the same experience, so we have ceased the usability of this mod on the PC. I'm being Capcom in the best case scenario right now. However, the information provided to us from this fan patch has allowed us to make some significant changes to our net play, and we'll be back to update you all on these changes at a later date, right? Just be as straightforward as you possibly can with some of this stuff. I would be super happy if Capcom just showed a little bit of humility, just a small amount of humility in this situation, and was just like, you know what? Yes, somebody found something that we had not realized. We're gonna remove it because it's causing problems, but we're gonna come back and do our best to make sure it's in there. But the problem is that's too expensive, and that never happens with Street Fighter. That never happens. They just don't do that. There's too much pride, and our game is at the Olympics, and we can't show weakness. We just can't do it. It would be awkwardly weird for Capcom's fighting game division to show an ounce of, like, humanity. You know, for them just to, the same way that a lot of their other divisions, between Division 1 and 2, between the Monster Hunter developers and the Resident Evil guys and all the other shit that's going on, and all the Tekken people, like, even Tekken isn't even a Capcom game, even those guys are having these cool meetings where they're just talking about how cool Monster Hunter is and how much they love this stuff, and why Resident Evil 2 was so important, and they're having, like, sit-down discussions where it's like, wow, you get these people from Japan that feel like they actually love Capcom stuff. I'm sorry, not humanity, humility. Did I say humanity? I might have read the chat. The humanity! Oh, the humanity! Suddenly, on the other end of the Capcom that isn't the fighting game division, it feels like they give a shit. It feels like Capcom is suddenly giving a shit because, number one, their games are a lot better than they were a few years ago. And number two, their transparency with some of the decisions that they're going into with, like, their Resident Evil games and all their big titles is legit kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see old developers of games talk to new developers and for them to say shit. On all other fronts of Capcom, there's at least a little bit of humility and a little bit of passion for these games. And Capcom's fighting game division has been stuck in this 8-year rut since Street Fighter Cross Tekken of every single one of their games having huge problems. Street Fighter Cross Tekken is painfully clear what the hell the problems were with that game. Gems and on-disc DLC. Ultra Street Fighter 4 put Street Fighter 4 in a very bad state in the long run, but by the time it came out, the impression of Ultra Street Fighter 4, even before it came out, wasn't great because what were they doing? They were just dumping Street Fighter Cross Tekken assets. So it was like, well, fuck, dude, all right? Street Fighter 5 comes out, and we all know what the fuck happens to that when it comes out, and then Marvel Infinite comes out, and we all know what the fuck happened there. It's been 8 years of all this painful shit happening. Like, absolutely everything feeling painfully under budget and not made for the fans. And that's the thing that hurts the most. That's the thing that is absolutely painful, is that this entire time, for so many years now, it feels like they know that they have this hardcore fan base, arguably even more hardcore than some of their other fan bases that they have, and they will absolutely buy whatever game we put out, no matter how low the budget. Street Fighter Anniversary Collection? Why does Third Strike run worse than Online Edition? Why isn't the other games not online? Or why are they claiming it's arcade perfect and it's not? There's obvious friggin' problems. And this is the weird thing. There's no communication. There's no discussion if there's gonna be like big changes to this. The last time we heard about these big communication things was pre-Street Fighter 5, and we had Ayano. Anyone remember that guy? And he was telling us all this interesting development stuff that was happening for Street Fighter, going into Street Fighter 5 and the conclusion of Street Fighter 4. Like, there were these producers and people that were running these fighting games that were no shit giving us information about how stuff is changing and where they're going and their plans for the future and stuff like that. And now there's been nothing. In this era, there's just been nothing. There's preemptive hype leading up to games, right? There's some stuff, but once the game is out, nothing. Like, here's just some new character and that's it. Is the netcode gonna get any better? Is there any other new fucking matchmaking, right? There's no damn information about any of that stuff ever. That is the genuine problem with Capcom's fighting game division in comparison to all of the other parts of Capcom. I'm just so fucking done with it. I mean, I've been dealing with this shit for 8 years, chat. Since Street Fighter Cross Tekken, I've been hoping that Capcom fighting games will get themselves back on the right foot. And as I was saying earlier, I sympathize with Street Fighter 5 fans. I actually do. I sympathize with you guys that have been dealing with this shit for so long. Because not even that long ago, I was in a very similar situation where I was trying to let people know that this game is actually really good. The online in Street Fighter 5 is obviously not the best and has had issues, but I can get that a lot of people love this game. Not that long ago, I was in a situation where I was like, you know what, this game is great. The online is really good. It just has the worst character decisions and it looks like shit for some reason. But I'm telling you, when you play it, it's really cool. I was in the exact same boat as all these big Street Fighter 5 defenders are right now with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. That was me.